So for your poetry project, you get to choose between 4 different types of poetry, and one of those happens to be concrete poetry. Now, as you've learned, concrete poems are really about the visuals. You create a shape or an image, you create some sort of visual actually using the poem itself. So today, I'm going to show you a few creative ways to really bring a concrete poem creation to life using Keynote and animations. So I'm going to show you just an example of something that I did to represent a concrete poem and bring it to life using Keynote animations. Let's take a look. So it was a pretty simple animation. If my poem was about dogs and playing fetch and how excited dogs are, you could see with those animations and visuals that it really represents what's going on in the poem. And if you're going to animate a scene or create something around your concrete poem with this digital element, that's really what we want to do. We want to focus on what's going on in the poem, the themes, the moods that you're trying to convey. And so what I chose to do is if I wanted to create this concrete poem about a dog, I actually went into Keynote's shapes and found a dog shape to give me a point of reference for actually writing or typing my poem around. Once I found this dog shape, I actually added individual text boxes that I then rotated and resized to fit that dog shape. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new text box. I'm going to move it to this final piece of the dog that I need to create. There we go. And I'll finish my poem. Like I said, I can rotate it as much as I need to. I can resize it if I want to. But overall, I like how this looks. If I were to delete the dog shape, you can see that my poem has taken on that silhouette of the animal. Now, when it comes to actually animating this concrete poem, if you want to, you can definitely animate every single text box to appear at one time. Or if you want to keep it simple and straightforward, kind of like I did, what I did is I selected all of these text boxes and the shape, and I grouped those items. So now it's just one single object. But I also added a tennis ball. I kind of created a scene to go with my dog and my poem. And so I'm going to find a tennis ball shape to add that element, to add a little bit of fun to that visual of my poem. And I'm going to move that a little bit off screen. That way it looks like somebody is throwing that tennis ball from off the slide. Now, when it comes to the actual animations, this part's pretty simple, but you've got to pay attention to what you're doing. I'm going to click on the item that I want to animate first, and I'm going to click Animate. This is going to bring me to this animation menu. Anytime you have this big blue box up at the top that says Animate Slides and Objects, anything you touch on the slide, you can bring to life. Because all of my items are really on the slide, I don't need to worry about them appearing. I don't really need to worry about them disappearing. I just want them to move. And so I'm going to click Add Action. When I do this, you can see that I have a lot of different types of animations to choose from. You can definitely play around with those, figure out which one fits what you're going for. But I think dogs are really cute, excitable creatures. They love to have fun, and my dogs like to wiggle and jump around a lot. So I'm gonna choose this jiggle animation. Let's see what it looks like. I love it. So I also want the dog to run across the screen. I'm gonna click on this X, and then I'm going to click on this plus sign to add a second animation to my selected object. To get the dog to run across the screen, it's a very simple animation effect called Create Path. From here, it's going to let me draw a path that I want the dog to follow off the screen. That's what it looks like. I think it looks good, so I'll press done. And now I want to make sure the tennis ball moves across the screen as well. So I'm going to do that same add action. I'm going to create path, and I'm just going to create an arc of that tennis ball being thrown across. I like it. So let's put it all together and see what it looks like. Well, it looks like my animations are out of order. This is not how I want this to work, but that's a really simple fix. All you've got to do is go up to this drop down right here, and now you can see all the animations that you've chosen. I want the jiggle to happen first, all by itself, and I want it to happen automatically after I move to this slide. I don't want to have to tap the next button or click to make the animation happen. But I want the dog to run and the tennis ball to be thrown at the same time. I can actually move these around if I wanted to, but I'm going to select number 2 and select after build 1, so it will automatically happen after the dog wiggles. Then I'll select build 3 and choose with build 2. That way the tennis ball and the dog running happen at the exact same time. Let's see how it looks. All right, so the actions are happening when I want them to, but that dog's motion path was a little bit too quick. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that motion path. I'll click on these actions at the bottom, click on the motion path, and then I've got this timer slider that will allow me to make the animation faster or slower. I want the dog to be a little bit slower as the tennis ball is thrown. That way it doesn't look like the tennis ball is chasing the dog. Let's play and see what it looks like together. That's exactly what I wanted. Since I'm done with my animation, I can go ahead and press done. And now it's ready for me to screen record, read it out loud, and turn it in as a video. However, if you want to kind of level up your Keynote animation and bring your poem to life even more, there's a few more Keynote features that you can definitely make use of that are built into the app. So I've created a couple of examples here. One, you can see I actually created a scene that goes along with the theme of my concrete poem. If I wrote this poem about cowboys and turned it into the shape of a cowboy hat, I might have some cowboys actually herding cattle towards a river. This is the scene that I created to fit what was going on in my poem. But another element that you can actually use is something that's pretty cool. It's called Keynote Live Video. This will allow you to immerse yourself and become a part of your poem. I'll show you an example and then I'll show you how to do it. So if I've got this Wild West poem here, you can see I've got my scene created behind me, I've got my hat right there, I've got a little speech bubble right here. I can actually, if I press play, I can pretend like I'm grabbing the hat and put it on top of my head as I'm reading my poem out loud. That way it's a little bit more thematic, it's a little bit more involved, and I'm actually a part of my poem. Now to do this, to add Keynote Live Video is really simple. All you need to do is go to this media button up at the top, click on Live Video, and there you are. If you want to take the background out from behind yourself, click on the paintbrush. Oh, and then this background button right there. You can also click Arrange and flip horizontally. That way, the animation actually mirrors what you're doing and it's not backwards. So I hope you've got some creative ideas and I cannot wait to see your poems.